Daddy can't tell me a story.
Yes, I can, kiddo. Thank you for finally asking the right question. I appreciate you. Uh, the phrase I wrote down here is "you didn't earn that anger," and this really ties well with something that we let in with the show about the Gen X and therapy and those kind of things. Of yeah, I'm hardcore Gen X. There's a few things that I land on, but certain every once in a while I'm like, yeah, no, screw you other generations. Y'all, Gen X had it crap from the boomers, and we had to deal with everything else. So we're all right. But I legit, without dragging out the story here, I legit went through some major emotional trauma in my life when I was 12. And it changed who I was. And so I went through all of that, and I mean, we had major things. This now, I mean, it was legitimate. Did you?
A random kid.
I'm too legit. You flashed the gang signs too as I'm telling you my heartfelt story.
Yeah,
I took
it wasn't gang
there.
signs. It was the MC Hammer thing.
I took Joe out there. You flashed gang signs. All right. So, flash forward to now. My son has some anger issues, Oakland, and is based out of the fact that his nanny died. And they were very close, and he was young. I honestly, I can't remember how old he was, but he's probably between 12 and 14. It's impactful. And I've always tried to teach him about life and death, being a paramedic, and because I see how people hold on to things. I see how my wife holds on to things. And I was trying to teach me different, but he held on to it. But he was letting the anger just build and build and build. And in the last year, so while he's been 19, he and I really got into it one night because he was just going over all this other stuff about he let this guy, he basically got sent home from work early because he let a customer start some crap with him, and he just amped it up. And so fortunately he kept his job. They just sent him home, and he's ready. And I finally just said this line to him. We were going back and forth like, no, you didn't earn this anger. You did not earn it. And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. What I'm asking about is that kind of thought process of when we're talking about help, we're talking about helping each other out, those kind of things. I know the oversimplified answer that I hold on to in my life is I carried that with me. I'm the one that has to let it go. And I was trying to express that point to him, but I did say you didn't earn that anger. And is that honestly a thing that we can share in this world? I mean, it is because pain. I've built my mental health life on pain is pain, right? You can identify and help people through different traumas when you can touch your own trauma type of deal, and not comparing apples to oranges, right? So I did have to back off to him with it and say, look, I understand that's the only anger you have, and you don't know. But I'm sorry, I'm telling you, and I'm always open to self-awareness. I'm working on it. That's why I'm sharing it here. It's more of a sharing moment of I'm working on, but I do kind of believe not I should compare his life to mine, but compared to what I went through, he didn't earn it. What do you guys think on that?
Joe, you got an opinion?
My first thought is feelings are a tough subject because they're often very irrational. So regardless of whether they should feel angry or should feel whatever, like logically speaking, and logic often has nothing to do with feelings, but logically speaking, whether they should feel angry or sad or whatever, it doesn't change the reality of what they're feeling is what they're feeling. And so it's regardless of whether they've earned it or not, doesn't change the fact that they're feeling it.
I get that.
Yeah. So ironically, this is something I've been trying to work on myself, because I tend to, when I get angry, and I don't get angry often, but when I do, I will bottle it up because I'm not one to lash out, and I will hang on to it for a long time.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that I've been reading about a lot more and have come around to is what you said this was Oakland?
Yeah.
So what I'm not saying you did anything wrong. So let's
Hey,
just take
sure,
that
yeah,
out of the
yeah,
picture.
sure, okay.
So, but what an approach I might have taken with him, especially given his age, is I might have said, you let that person take control of you. And what I mean by that is we have the ultimate control over everything that happens in our lives. And people freak out when I say that sometimes because they're going, well, what if I got hit by a car? That happened to you.
Right.
But how you react to that event is completely within your control. You can get ticked off at the driver. You can be really sad because you lost your limbs. I don't know, but you can be you can. There's all kinds of feelings that can happen based on this thing that happened to you, but you also have the ability to let it go and to just move forward. And that is really hard sometimes because in the heat of the moment, your emotions are running wild. And if you can take a beat and go, how valuable is this for me to hang on to? What is the upside for me? And most of the time, there is no upside, right? Most of the time, it's the sooner I can get past this, the better. I'm not saying don't process your feelings. I'm not saying don't talk about it. I'm not saying bottle it up. I'm saying do what you need to do, but at some point, you have the choice to hang on to it or to let it go. And anger is one of the most toxic things, right? It just, and if we can learn earlier to not let that person take control of our lives, because that's what this is. Like, this person stole Oakland's mind share at that point, right? And stole it for whatever the given amount of time was. Whether he earned it or not is not, to Joe's point, is not really relevant because everybody's got their own thing. And as a kid, the percentage of time from his life that he became angry is a much higher percent of his life than it is yours right now. Right? You know, a day in your life is a much smaller percentage than a day in his life. Steven. I'm just saying that, and again, this is something I'm struggling with right now and I'm trying to get better at, but the more that we can just take control and not give that control to anybody else, the better our lives are. Like, I literally went through a thing where 4 days ago, I was really angry and I'd been angry for a week. And I said, I need to let this go.
Yep.
And I let it go. And it was hard, but immediately it was better.
So I didn't say, well, I definitely didn't say all that. And I didn't say it in the way that you said it, which would have been way better. The two things I did kind of come across is I talked about how that guy stole his job in that day. That kind of like, you know, he was leaving, he was doing this, he was whatever. You could just ignore him because he's not thinking about you. You got sent home and you're raging here in the house. So I did get to, and it was a little harsher, of course, and it was a little, but it seemed to land some. And then the last thing I did say to him, I was like, I still, in that moment, and for everybody wondering why I brought up the Gen X stuff, that's what I was relating to, that tough mentality that sometimes we are stuck in between that, hey, you don't get therapy and help, and that vulnerableness at the same time, because we had to take care of ourselves. You know, that's why I tied it into this. But that what I said to him was, whether or not I believe you deserve this or not doesn't matter. Whether you believe it, you deserve it or not doesn't matter. You have to realize that right now, what you're angry at is something that happened in the past, and you keep carrying it with you. And at some point, you have to figure out how to put it down. And he's old enough to remember me going through my anger issues and working those out. I said that to him, and I said, so you know, if you need to talk to anybody, of course we can find you a counselor, but until then, when you're ready to start dealing with your anger, I can help you deal with your anger. and we've actually been better since. He seems to be a lot less angry since, and we're trying to do things for him. But yeah, it's just two things can be true at once sometimes. I want to help him. I'm there for him, and I can admit with what Joe said. Feelings are feelings. What you feel, you have no comparison. I mean, a broken toe hurts until you blow a hand off or something. No comparison of pains. I don't know where that went. I'm sorry. I shocked everybody. I brought everybody out of that. But
rub some dirt on it. You'll be all right.
So makes me think of Major Pain when he tells him, you want to stop thinking about that? Give me your pinky.
Exactly. But the two things are true. I can believe he didn't earn it, and I can believe that he feels what he feels because that's all he knows. And they're opposite of each other, but they're there.
Yeah. And haven't watched the anger management movie.
Goose
Braba. I can't tell you how often, because we use Microsoft Teams for internal chat in the company.
Yeah.
And again, my boss, who's my best friend, throughout the week, not every day, but like once a week at least, I just type to him, Goose Fraba.
Is it Steven? Is it Steven that you type it
to? Goose Fraba. That, and if I'm feeling particularly randy, I feel pretty. Oh, so pretty. Yeah.
So Joe, Randy's things that old people say when they, a little spicy. They feel a little spicy. That's what that means. And on that note, we're going to turn this car around and go home, everybody.